Welcome to the Underground, the Steel City Underground, the black and gold standard for Pittsburgh Steelers coverage. Now, here's your host, Joe Kuzma and Brian E. Roach.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Steel City Underground podcast. My name is Joe Kuzma, and joining me here with his MetaQuest 3 VR headset, something or other, one Mr. Brian E. Roach. Brian, are you paying attention to what's going on here, my friend?
I'm looking up your nose again. All right, that's gross.
Yeah, Brian had said something about, I don't know, he just wanted to look up my nose for some reason, and
I watched the last episode using that headset because I wanted to see what it was like to watch Joe and Zach in the metaverse, and it's moderately terrifying, and I don't actually recommend anybody do it.
I have one of these, my friend. Well, it's actually my daughter's. We were just talking a little bit off air here. I get the Quest 2, so sometimes I will steal it. I'll play some games on it, and I was asking if you ever tried the NFL Quarterback Pro era or whatever. It's probably better. It's probably better that you didn't. I don't know if they have more than one version of it, but all I can tell you is that the first one that came out, Mitch Trubisky was the quarterback. So
I'm not trying that. I'll throw my headset in the ground and smash it. That's out. I'm not doing that.
Oh my goodness. It was literally like an experience like that though. Like it could be frustrating. I thought it was, I don't know how, I mean, it's realistic enough. You've got like you've got to look out the face mask and the helmet, and you got your peripherals, and it's definitely interesting how responsive it is. And then I want to say that the second one maybe released with Kenny Pickett. I don't know if they had another one for this year like they do Madden, but maybe somebody could jump in the comments and say, you know what, Joe, it's gotten better. Check it out now. Let Russ cook.
It's very fine. I as we were talking about the walkabout mini golf, I enjoyed playing the walkabout mini golf. That's about all I've done. That and watch an Amazon Prime the Rings, the Lord of the Rings thing on Amazon Prime. I watched an episode of that using that in theater mode, and that was way more fun than it should have been.
I know it actually is. It's a pretty cool concept. But my friend, we are back to reality, and I think we're trying to figure out as a segue if this is reality. We're entering week 8 of the NFL season. The Pittsburgh Steelers 5-2. Technically, I guess a tie by record, but the Ravens have played some divisional games, and so they got the edge so far in the AFC North. But yeah, we're like ready to enter the bye week, dude. It's ready to be November. We wait all year long. We have all these episodes. Can you believe it's blown by as quickly as it has, and as well as it has? I mean, the Steelers' 2 losses only by 3 points so far. Not a lot to complain about, but we could still find areas, I guess.
Well, we could less than we could before the last game.
Yeah, definitely.
But nonetheless, it's the most frustrating thing right now is we could be 7-0.
That would be something else. When you see the way that the Kansas City Chiefs have escaped some of their games, could you imagine that with the Steelers being still undefeated? Now, I don't know if you watched the Thursday night game or at least saw the controversy with the face mask. I liked it though, because Mark Caboli, what basically happened is pretty much in front of the referee, Trey Blake, Sam Darnold was backed up to his end zone. They're down 8, I believe, at this point to the Rams. And there was a sack, and you could tell the defender that got the sack for the safety. A couple defenders, they're already like signaling. He had he had the whole grill, and Darnold's head got yanked back the other direction.
And they didn't call it?
And there was no call. And the safety held up, and it's not a reviewable call, and it was just under 2 minutes also, and it's just, it stings. Now, they would have had to go like 85 yards, 90 yards or whatever, and scoring a 2-point conversion and all of that. But I liked where Caboli said this isn't on the same level as Joe Hayden in the pass interference with Alvin Kamara, which cost the Steelers basically the playoff berth in 2018, caused Antonio Brown to go crazy and leave the team, and all sorts of other dominoes started to fall from there. And I think we're just starting to recover from that right now as we speak. This week 8, we're finally here. I say, is it reality? Because this is a game we would usually look at I'm hearing folks on the Steelers Nation radio, they're saying, is this a layup? Is this a slam dunk? I think this is such a great analogy, because a couple of weeks ago, we were previewing the Steelers against the Raiders, who were not a quality football team. And they're playing, a backup quarterback in place as their starter. And there was similarities there, but you weren't sure if the Steelers were for real or for pretend. And now this is where I think the Steelers need to get a statement game, especially some momentum before the bye week. Monday Night Football, color rush jerseys. There is a 21-game win streak on Monday nights for the Pittsburgh Steelers that goes beyond Mike Tomlin's tenure. I believe it goes back to Bill Cowher. I don't know how many years. And it's we're sitting here riding pretty high after what they did to the Jets and probably thinking there's no way this little fly, the New York Giants, just sweep them, just swat them away. I'm not going to say trap game because there's nothing to trap for. They're not looking ahead to the bye week.
They're not looking ahead to the bye week.
Yeah.
Well, maybe they are. Maybe they're like, oh my God, I can't wait to get to the bye week. But you're not looking ahead to game. Look, I enjoyed. I was watching somebody. It might have been Cam in one of the interviews, basically saying, he's saying the right things. You can't take anybody for granted. The Giants don't look to be a good team, but at the same time, their defense has playmakers. And it is not a gimme. There just aren't gimmies anymore in this league. Even teams that are, have a record that you consider to be subpar, there's one gimme in the league right now. One.
Carolina.
Well, okay, maybe there's two.
Maybe two. New England.
All right, now maybe there's
Who's
three.
Your gimme? Give me the gimme.
The Browns.
Oh, the Browns. Okay, no, I don't think the Browns. In fact, if this were the Cleveland Browns, I'd probably be speaking a little more. I would still have concern, right? And it's kind of odd because the Giants, they beat the Cleveland Browns earlier this year. It's one of their only 2 wins as they head into Acrisure Stadium for Monday night with a 2-5 record, completely in reverse of the Steelers. A storied franchise, actually. I was talking about this too, Brian. Just I'll do it real and brief, though. The teams that post, whatever franchise quarterbacks that they've had, like the Broncos since Peyton Manning, pretty much struggled. I think they've only made it to the playoffs once. They've changed coaches a bunch of times. They've used draft picks. They brought in veterans and even Russell Wilson for that matter. And the Steelers are at that same point, but they haven't done the coaching changes. They've been able to weather the storm. The Giants in the same category, they didn't have a whole lot of success post Super Bowl. They still had Eli Manning there as he got older, Tom Coughlin, and he walked away, and they had guys like Joe Judge and Pat Shurmur, and now they're on Brian Daboll, and they've stuck with Daniel Jones, and they even gave him a contract, but said goodbye to Saquon Barkley. And the Maras are much like the Rooneys, and just storied owners of a long-time NFL team organization, but the success just hasn't been there. And Mara's just come out and they've committed to, I'm trying to think, Joe Shane, the GM, and just all these different changes. Everybody bitches and complains about, Mike Tomlin and playoff wins and this, that, and the other thing. And you take a look at these other teams. Patriots are right there with it. They're trying to change coaches now. They're changing quarterbacks a third time. They have Cam Newton and Mac Jones and Bailey Zappi. But Zappi's the reason this comes to mind, too, is because you thought you're so sure of yourself with the 2-win Patriots team coming into town for a primetime game last year, and they got the floor mopped with them. Now, albeit Mitch Trubisky, pretty bad. Matt Canada and all that pretty stuff, bad. Right? Just bad news. You had Matt Canada earlier in the year. You had a lot of bad things going with the Steelers. I think a lot of that taste has been washed out of our mouths. And this is a team that, even though not 100% healthy, you look at the offensive line, has been capable of putting up over 30 points in each of the last 2 games, being very opportunistic and creating turnovers, forcing the other team to make mistakes. And you look at the New York Giants, and you really can't look at it and think, well, they're a credible threat. They're 30th in points scored this season. They're 23rd passing and 25th running the football. Just offensively, they're offensive against the Steelers defense that's likewise only giving up the second most points in the National Football League, 14.4 per game, 22nd against the pass, but 3rd against the run. I know Malik Neighbors finally came back last week. He's been dealing with some injuries, but you take a look up and down the roster of what the Giants have on offense, and Darius Slayton, Jalen Hyatt, Wan'Dale Robinson, those are like the receivers. I don't know any of these tight ends, Daniel Bellinger or Theo Johnson. It's basically Neighbors, and then you have Devin Singletary in the backfield, and you got to count on Daniel Jones to have this running. I look at this purely from a standpoint of if the Steelers defense doesn't get like surprised like they did against the Colts or last year against Bailey Zappi and the Patriots, this should be a layup. This should be a slam dunk. It should be smooth sailing to victory and on into the bye week.
Absolutely, it should. This is it. On paper, this is an easy win, but it's nothing is ever easy, and. Here, you talked about this is a team that's been very opportunistic, right? They've been able to, when they have turnovers, when they've been able to convert them, when they've been able to make those kinds of splashes, they are able to turn them into points. Here's the thing: can you count on Beanie Bishop intercepting 2 passes every game? As much as I'm happy that Beanie Bishop did 2 good things, and did get good things 2 games in a row. No, you cannot count on Beanie Bishop intercepting 2 passes in 2 games. Just like you can't count on TJ Watt punching the ball out twice in a game. If we've said this multiple times during the season so far, when the defense does those things, the team wins. When they don't, they've struggled. Now, that was with Justin Fields. Let's fast forward to what we have with Russ. I'm not ready to say Russell Wilson is all that yet, right? Do I love what I saw after the first quarter, after those first 4 drives? Yes, I thought it was great, right? I thought they were consistent. He's moving the ball around. You didn't have the same kind of nervousness in your gut when you're watching them drive down the field. You got Najee running like a madman. It looked really good. But I also remember the first 4 drives that didn't look nearly as good.
Mm-hmm.
So I need a bigger sample size. I will tell you I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm cautiously optimistic that Russ is going to do the job that we need Russ to do, and we'll see, especially against potentially not the greatest defense. But they've got good edge rushers. They've got guys who are low in the middle.
Yeah.
They've got pressure. The offensive line still has to hold up, and they're going to have another challenge just like they did with the Jets. With the Giants. So if they can, and Russ can do the things that Russ was doing, yes, they should be pretty easy to win. But I want to see, this is the next game, right? I want to see it, and this is good, right? I don't believe, in my mind, the Ravens defense is and even the Commanders defense is not necessarily their defensive lines specifically are not as good as the Jets and the Giants defensive lines are. So will the offensive line, if the offensive line can hold up against 2 of the better defensive lines in football, when we get the Commanders, when we get the Ravens, when we start going into AFC North football in the back half of this season, I'm a little less worried than I was earlier.
Yeah, definitely. I will talk Giants defense a little bit too. Just a reminder, it is a Monday night game, folks. I always have the little programming note. Yeah, another primetime game, man.
I'm too old for this crap.
I don't mind just going to the hotel after the game myself personally, and then waking up in the morning, getting a breakfast and hitting the road and driving early enough that I avoid people on the road and I get that nice breakfast and it's daylight and everything. We're going to fall back here in a week, and then it's going to be dark at like 5:00 or something ridiculous. And even though there aren't like any 4:00 games like left on the schedule, the schedule's so weird. I was just like looking at it. It's like basically you have Baltimore and Cleveland at home, and then you have Christmas, and then it's the TBD to end the season.
Bengals,
with the Bengals at home too. So it's been a very odd kind of layout, particularly here in the middle of it. And now they get a bye. They have that extra day even before this, like with the bye with Monday night. I guess it's the only consolation prize they get for the very short weeks that are coming with Baltimore and Kansas City and whatnot, which will not be fun and we will be bitching about. But yeah, Daniel Jones had 21 attempts last week passing the ball for 99 yards. He didn't turn it over. I guess that's the saving grace. He did get.
Did they play last week? The Eagles?
The Eagles. They played
week?
the Eagles, who that's a get-right game for the Eagles with 7 sacks because their defensive line has not been doing as well either. The Giants are ailing on both edges when it comes to their offensive tackles. I know Andrew Thomas is on injured reserve. I was going to look at the injury report here. I was looking to see.
Maybe this is a get-right game for TJ then.
Mm-hmm. They had somebody else that got hurt as well, and I'll have to pull it up, but they've been struggling. They've been struggling big time. On their edge, with their edges, and having Alex Highsmith back, that's huge. That's huge against the run. Singletary. Singletary is a pretty solid running back. He's not Saquon, but he's still somebody who could get the job done. He's only had the 61 carries for 239 yards, 2 touchdowns rushing so far this season. He does catch the ball a little bit out of the backfield. Tyrone Tracy has been splitting with him as well. Has very similar statistics, both rushing and receiving. And some of that's just the dump-off game factor, too. Believe it or not, Daniel Jones has 6 touchdowns, but he also has 4 interceptions so far this season. He's been sacked 21 times so far in 7-1 games. So
let's see if we can double that by the end of the game.
Oh, it'd be nice to get. It seems like TJ's been quiet, and I've been saying that about some other guys too. 2
fumble things in the Raiders game, but yeah, he was very quiet in the game against the Jets. Alex was getting some nice pressure though. So I mean, it was nice to see Alex Highsmith back out there. But look, TJ said it himself. If you want to take TJ out of the game, go ahead and do what you're doing. Put 3 guys there. It was Chip with the tight end. Then you got the tackle. You got the running back coming in from one bit. He was facing multiple guys every single snap, and it was the same in the Raiders. So sometimes that's going to work, right? But with Alex Highsmith back, if they can start getting that kind of consistent pressure that Alex was getting off of the other side, they aren't going to be able to do that as much.
Yeah, the Giants do not have as good of an offensive line as the Jets with guys like Morgan Moses that's out there on TJ that we just saw in that little still. It's not looking too great, to be completely honest. I mean, they got a veteran in John Runyon that's sitting there, John Michael Schmitz, then Greg Van Rotten, but Jermaine Eleanor and Joshua Azedu. They have Chris Hubbard and Evan Neal as reserves, if that tells you anything. There's just a bunch of bodies. It almost resembles what the Steelers got going on right now. So I don't want to knock it too much because the Steelers it's going to be the trenches battle again with the other side of the football. But offensively, the Giants have scored 10 points in their last 2 games. Not in each of their last 2 games. Combined against the Bengals and the Eagles. Against the Bengals.
The Bengals. That's the one that really throws you, right?
Yes.
That's the one that makes you sit there and go, there's no good reason that they should get a first down in this game, right? You didn't score points on the Bengals. The Bengals defense stinks, right? The Bengals have been lucky to win games because they've had to try and keep up. And if they can't score 37 points, they haven't been able to win. Right? Because their defense has been horrible. And you could score on the Bengals? Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, I know. I wanted to look up with some of the scoring here defensively. I believe somebody... No, they do not have a defensive touchdown. But I believe some of this obviously aided by guys like Dexter Lawrence, who leads the league with 9 sacks. And it's kind of crazy to see how many guys they got defensively. Brian Burns has 4. Aziz Ujulari also has 4. Jason Pinnock has 3. Kayvon Thibodeau has 2. And go down the line. They have like 10 guys that have at least 1 sack on this defense. They are they're doing quite well in that category. They have 31 sacks so far this season, which comparatively, where are the Steelers at? I'm going to look that up here in a second too. But it just gives you an idea that everybody on their defensive line, I believe, has at least multiple sacks. Now, Thibodeau, he's out. So that's like something that's a little bit of a feather in your cap that's going to help a little bit for the Steelers and their offensive line, which will probably still not see Zach Frazier this week. I imagine they'll rest him through the bye. So you're going to get Ryan McCullum for a second time. And what another reason, too, Brian, that maybe Aaron Rodgers didn't go down as much, and it's a poor comparison maybe. It's just because Aaron Rodgers, like Russell Wilson, will get rid of the freaking ball. Russ, he'll hold on to it, but he's also smart with it. He knows this isn't going to materialize. Live to fight another day, and he isn't forcing anything, trying to extend some plays when it's unnecessary, and that's very much Aaron Rodgers.
He doesn't have overconfidence of his. He doesn't have the overconfidence of his legs that Justin Fields has.
Mm-hmm. Very fair. Neither does Aaron Rodgers.
No, Aaron Rodgers is lucky he could move at all in that game.
I know.
But the difference is Aaron Rodgers was operating in Ben of the last 2 years in Ben's career mode, where probably the ball is coming out in 0.2 seconds, and there's just nothing you can do about that.
Yeah, Kayvon Thibodeau. I forgot to mention too that Graham Gano is sitting here on their injured reserve too. That they don't have their starting kicker that they started the season out with. That could also play a factor with special teams, although he's been out for a couple weeks already, I believe. But you take a look
Speaking of those special teams, man.
Oh man, you gotta love it. Yeah, I forgot. I haven't talked to you, man. Danny Smith with his big wad of chewing gum.
Man.
Yeah, should have had two. Should have had two.
I love the fact that Tomlin talked to New York, and they informed him that yes, there was no leverage. I need to send you my gift for the ref stink, because we should just be making sure that gets played appropriately, because they're terrible.
Well, okay. So on the last show, I thought I eloquently said it enough that I wasn't dumping 100% on the referees. It was very much the thing with this Vikings-Rams game is the angle. I pretty much said it. It's the angle of you thought you saw something that you didn't, and they called it, which is not what actually ended up happening. It didn't smell like a duck, look like a duck, quack like a duck. It's a duck. It didn't happen in the Rams and Vikings, but it did happen with Minka Fitzpatrick and the would-be blocked extra point, which led to extra points. You got to play through that. You know what I mean? There was a good point made. The Kabali thing again. Would that have really mattered? Do you think the Vikings get to march like another 80-some yards after that or whatever? They had 45 minutes to do whatever. And it's the same thing here with the Steelers. Don't defeat yourself, right?
And they did.
So they have...
we've said this all along, too. The refs stink, but the refs aren't what cost you games. Now I will maybe change that tune with the Joe Hayden, pass interference thing.
Yeah.
But in 99.9% of the times, the stinkiness of the refs is not what costs you a game, right? You can usually overcome the refs being horrible, because they're horrible for everybody. That's what I mean. It's not just that they are against us. The folks, the conspiracy theorists who think the refs are just against the Steelers. No, watch any other game. They stink everywhere. But so they're not costing you games in most cases.
In most cases.
I just want to be clear about that again.
The old cliche is, I got to tell you, and I'm telling you this on the preface of, I know he's laughing. I'm not going to mention his name and out him, but I have a person that's talked to me about the NFL officials, of which they know and work with dearly. So I wanted to backtrack a little bit on the refs stink, even though Al Riveron's still bad, and we could
they stink.
Do
I don't care.
Them. Scott,
I don't know your person. Your person doesn't know me. They stink. They're stink. Hey, they stink. They stink. They stink.
What I was trying to say is most of the guys we think are stinky are already out of the picture for the year. You got Scott Novak coming in for Monday night, and I don't really have that strong of a opinion. Dale Lawley's been doing a lot of tweets on the various crews, how much they penalize, what they penalize for their tendencies, the same way you would have tendencies with the team. This looks like it should be a very clean game. I don't think there's going to be a lot dirty, because it should be a one-sided game, and when you get to that point, it's like, okay, unless it's something very routine, it's like, just go through the paces and get out of here tonight, for all parties involved. You know what I mean? So, injury report. Before we go into some more here with the Giants, Roman Wilson, DNP with a hamstring tweak again. I don't know if this dude's ever going to get on the field. This is, he's going to get ready to give up this number 10 jersey. I think becomes available for Cooper Kupp, maybe, who had a decent game yesterday. I don't know that he's going anywhere, but
that was the stinkiest part of the Rams winning that game. It's like the headline is, with 2-star receivers back, Rams win, right? And I'm like, oh.
I know. I'm sitting there the same way. I'm like, I think if the Rams lose another game here, and I believe they would have dropped, I think it was 2-6. I think they had 2 wins And I'm like, maybe they're more sellers than buyers, because then you're very much so mathematically out of the playoff picture. So,
but got Pacquiao still on a rookie deal. So
Puka Nacua, they have
his name is.
DeMarcus Robinson, Tutu Atwell. They've got guys. They've got guys. So I'm never going to say never, but they used them and then used them in order. Still got another week. So we're up to November 6th. Now the following Tuesday. 4:00 Eastern New York time is the cutoff for the trade. So go back through the injury report. I was only joking because it's like Roman didn't even get a number 10 jersey dirty yet. And just to go back to that with the snap counts, he's barely had any snap counts. I don't expect Beanie Bishop to be playing, just 10 shy of the entire game again. Anyways, 85% or whatever he did, Brian. So will he have
Cam's
2 picks?
Back next? Not this week, but after the bye, or is he back this week?
He will be eligible right at the trade deadline, I think, to return.
So after the bye.
Something within here. Kabali put that one out too, or somebody put that out within the Steelers, but it was like a November date. So he's coming back. It was an 8-game suspension. This is week 8. So 8 games will have been played. That meets the criteria. It has to be games played, not weeks. So if they happen to have the bye week this week and they didn't play, this would be like week 8, but only 7 games played, then he wouldn't be eligible to return. But anyways,
I think we need to start, by the way, because it warms the cockles of my heart that Beanie wanted Aaron Rodgers to sign the interceptions, right? To me, that's just hilarious, and what cojones you have to try and get that pulled off. So I think we need to start a new hashtag that says sign Beanie's balls.
Oh, jeez, man. I have my hashtag. Well, it's sitting back here somewhere. I have the hashtag. Anyways, back to the injury report. Mainly the bad joke about Roman Wilson wearing 10, and that's what Cooper Kupp's got. And he might have to give that up. But DeMonte Casey's back. Deshaun Elliott showed up as a DMP. Did not practice with the back. Don't know the whole story with that. Maybe just getting a little bit of rest. Dante Jackson promising. He sat out the remainder of the game after leaving with the shoulder. He was a full participant. Tyler Matakevich opening the return. 21-day return window. Special teamer to come off of injured reserve. Nick Herbig is still a DMP, as is Zach Frazier. Dylan Cook, also another guy coming back from IR, full participant. Cordero Patterson limited, as was Keanu Benton, who's new to the list with calf. Cam Hayward with a day of rest. Go take a look at what we have thus far for the New York Giants. And really not a whole lot of guys of note, but you do have a punter that shows up on the list with a hamstring as a DNP. I have to see if they already have somebody on their practice squad or made a transaction move yet. Adoree Jackson, a corner, DNP with the neck. Dexter Lawrence with the hip. We'll see if that's a nagging injury or if he's...
Say that first guy's name.
What, Adoree Jackson?
No, the very first guy on that list.
I don't know who he is, so it doesn't matter. Cordell Flott with the groin.
What a name. That is not a football name.
He's a reserve guy, but Ty Summers, a DMP, reserve linebacker. Brian Burns was limited with a groin Achilles. Bryce Ford Wheaton, a wide receiver, Achilles limited. Jalen Hyatt, one of the guys that's like, if they start 3 wide receivers, he's usually in that rotation, full practice with the ribs. So you do have 2 of the dudes up front in this 4-man defensive front that are, they've got some type of injury status that you want to check out. Now, of course, everybody's practice has moved back a week because of Monday Night Football. They get that extra day of rest. So
a week,
a day. Sorry.
Thank you.
I did drink enough coffee today. I'm still working on it over here. I got my. This is a beloved cup of mine. This is from Eaton Park. Eaton Park, Brian. It's the place for smiles.
I don't even know what it is. Never heard of it.
It's kind of like the big boy of, Western Pennsylvania, I would say. Some breakfast, like a Perkins, a Denny's.
And it's called Eaton Park?
Eaton Park. You never been to an Eaton Park? They have a breakfast buffet
bar
wait. Sometimes.
Eat and Park.
Eat N. It's an N, like
yes.
And that.
Not
and that.
Eaton, E-A-T-O-N,
Eating.
Park, P-A-R-K, like the name of a park, Eaton Park. It's Eat and Park. Okay, I get you.
Yeah.
Yes, I've heard of that, and no, I don't eat there.
Oh, man. I mean, over in, Southern Ohio, the big boys might be in trouble too. So we're giving all kind of free plugs today. There's Eaton Park right there. Eaton Park right there. And they have smiley cookies. So It might as well plug.
That's a reason enough for me not to eat there.
Oh man, it was good. It was good, especially with the young kids. But I don't know if you saw the other things. Since we're on it, let's just talk food. Let's just talk let's promote everyone else's stuff. And come on. I really want it up here. I'm gonna have to find it. You have to give me a second.
Okay.
Going back though to whatever the hell we were talking about, injury report.
Injury report, Giants.
Yes.
That's what we were on.
Injury report, Giants. That's definitely what we were on. No, we weren't. We were on.
Well, I was making fun of Flott.
Oh, we got Permane Brothers. The Dangerous sandwich. He cooked, we cooked. The Dangerous is now available. Pepperoni, salami, ham, and bacon. Served Pittsburgh style with Permane Brothers. Signature provolone, fries, slaw, and a tomato. $1 of every sandwich sold to support Children's. I believe this is Children's Pittsburgh Hospital. If I go to click all the way through to it, but it does Children's Hospital Foundation, if UPMC is what it is. It's on there.
I'm going to say sacrilege.
What?
That stuff's gross.
Man, okay. And folks,
this is the final time. Crap is
we're not even going to put you on the screen anymore. This is Brian's final show. Man, we're all over the place, but we're all over the place regionally with what to eat.
I sign off. Thank you very much.
Oh man, they had actually said something. If Russ Cooks, we cook, or something like that. They tweeted that out or X'd it or posted it, whatever it is now, and they did that during the game on Sunday night. I thought it was hilarious. I'm on the email list because they give you coupons or coupons.
Did they have? Yeah, it's a coupon. That's what's his name? That comedian says, I got a coupon. Did they also do the Roethlisberger? Was it Permane's that did the Roethlisberger, or was that somebody else?
Well, they also had the HBK for the Pittsburgh Penguins line with the three guys. Their initials were HBK.
I remember. I thought the Roethlisberger was gross too.
I'll get out of here. Anyways, folks. Steelers defensively, we think that they should cook against Daniel Jones and the Giants. I mean, it's Malik Neighbors is still somebody to keep your eye on. Again, the Giants are only 30th in points scored per game. Defensively, they're 12th in points allowed. So Steelers are 16th, scoring 23 a game, allowing 14.4. So the Giants are allowing 21.3. The over-under on this game is still very low. They don't think, I think, that the Giants or Steelers will score more than 36.5 is where that line's set at. And boy, is that a real tempting tidbit there to put some money on it. Steelers are favored by 6.5 points, by the way.
Well, see, what that really tells you right there is that they're basically saying the Giants will score maybe 10 points and the Steelers will score 27. Right. That's why the line's at 36.5, because they're like, you lose if.
Absolutely.
They're like, it's 27-10 is their number. That's what I'm telling you.
Yeah.
I get it. Nobody should have any faith in the Giants scoring. Even the Giants. They should just get up. They should get to the stadium and go, we can't score anyway. We're just going to, whatever. We just can't score. They should just go into the stadium knowing they can't score.
Yep. Well, I mean, I think we talked pretty well about. We didn't really talk about the rest of the Giants' defense. I mean, but we know some guys like Bobby Okereke, for example. But in their secondary, Deonte Banks, younger guy, followed him coming out of college. Cordell Flott, the guy who's hurt now, and Flott. Adoree Jackson's a reserve there too, who's hurt. Trey Hawkins, they're banged up in the secondary, and it's not going to be good if Russ comes out here and throws all these passes. By the way, and it wasn't the 1940 statistic, but there was something else on Steelers Nation Radio. I know you listened to the show. The trivia thing we said would be a good trivia question. Ed Morrill was the guy in the 50s. So that was the next biggest debut with Russ, at least passing yards. So I was able to dig at least that deep on the surface. But yeah,
right, and that's when you guys told me that I would know because I was watching the game, and that I flipped off my TV.
You may have had a rattle back then, maybe, but
I was very annoyed with both of you, and I told you to.
You threw the headset. You were trying to punch us, but you could do that because you were in the virtual reality. Hilarious, my friend, hilarious. Yes. But this secondary, Tyler Nubin, Jason Pinnock. I mean. It's not very strong. They're going to have to stop Najee up front. And the Steelers, a lot of the Steelers offense with Arthur Smith, of course, starts with running the football, winning in the trenches, and setting up play action.
Yep. I really I like the way that the games have been unfolding lately. Getting Darnell Washington involved in just a little quick flares, right? Just out to the side. He's right there. They don't expect it. Yes, eventually the people are going to catch on and cover that. But it's there. When it's there, take it, right? You soften up the offensive line just by pounding, or the defensive line by pounding Najee up the middle a little bit, pounding Najee on the sides, get them running, try and make them work for it for a little bit. Throw the moon ball to Pickens, see what you can do. I like the way the offense really was cooking through the last 3 quarters of that game. They looked cohesive and it looked professional. You didn't have that sense of chaos that you sometimes had when Justin Fields was playing. And for whatever reason, they just started to look better. Maybe it's just, starts to click. Maybe it's confidence with Russ. Whatever it is, Russ is willing to take some throws that Justin Fields isn't. And they talked about the arc of the ball, moon ball stuff. It's, if you're a receiver, a ball coming down like this is a lot easier to catch than a ball coming basically flat to you. And that's a difference in the way that those two guys throw the ball. Justin throws more on a line. Russ throws more on an arc for some of those deep passes. I was really happy with how it looked, and I sort of don't want to say it should look the same, right? I like I said, I want to see it in this game too. I feel cautiously optimistic that we will, but I don't want to go to bed Monday night and break my windows in my TV and stuff because it didn't look as good.
No, and I hear you, my friend. I think it's going to be a field day for TJ Watt. I feel
Hope so.
I feel like Alex Highsmith balances out. They're definitely better against the run with Alex Highsmith there as well.
Yeah, I put TJ back there because I think this is he's going to have a week.
We haven't done this for a while, but I had a bad take of the week. And it was something I read that called the Steelers defense aging, and they need to make a move before the trade deadline for somebody younger to help out. I said, what the hell are you smoking? There are only 4 players that are over the age of 30. One of them, Cam Hayward at age 35, is the top-ranked interior defensive lineman by the website we don't like, usually, unless it supports our cause.
It's the Wizardly World?
The PFFs of the world. And then the other 3 dudes are like all special teamers, including Matakevich and Miles Killebrew, and I forgot who the other one was. Oh, Casey. Casey's the other one.
How old's Larry? 29?
29 or 30. But yeah, the point was over 30. And 30, especially when you're playing, I'm not going to say entire front 7, because inside linebacker, you might want somebody that's more of a spring chicken. You start to lose some speed, especially where the Steelers are using them to cover sideline to sideline, run, pass game, whatever, right? But for the guys up front, 35 is still surmountable. Like, you get guys that play into their mid to late 30s all around the league up there, especially a guy like Cam Hayward, who I always mention, got a later start in his career. So that one was a bad
congrats to Cam Hayward with this game. Most starts by a defensive player, I think. Well, isn't it this week if he plays this game?
I believe you might be correct.
Yeah, most games played by a defensive player in the history of the team.
And just a little bit, I think a little more, some history between these teams as I pull it up too, but wide receiver moves too, Brian. I know everybody's sitting there thinking the Steelers absolutely 100% must make a wide receiver move. We've heard a lot of noise to the fire because there's a lot of unknown guys like Van Jefferson and Kelvin Austin. We saw them make plays last week with Russell Wilson. So quarterbacking might alleviate some of those issues. They just called or signed Andy Isabella to the practice squad. Somebody that's bounced around, and he was a mid-round pick somewhere when he entered the NFL several years ago. It was somebody that is one of the darlings. I actually texted Zach. I said, our sweet prince, Andy Isabella, because it's like one of these guys. We got to get him. And I've been there before with guys like Ryan Switzer. You know what I mean? I don't want to be fool me once kind of thing, right?
Mr. Running around.
Well, Gunnar Olszewski was on this roster for the Giants too, but he's on injured reserve, so we can't.
What a surprise there.
Yeah, surprise. But
let me just, before you go on, though, I want to also give credits to somebody else. Peyton Wilson. Dude is coming to life, man. That guy is going to be a steal and a half. You just watch.
He is.
Game is slowing down for him.
I agree.
Was all over the field making tackles in the last game. He's going to be a stud.
Yeah, I agree. And, I meant to bring some of that up too, because, last game, Malik Neighbors only caught 8 targets for 41 yards. And I was talking about the 99 yards passing, but the Giants were only able to run the ball 18 times, 76 yards collectively. That includes Drew Lock scampering away for a 13-yard gain that heavily skews the statistics here. Otherwise, Singletary was 5 carries for 18 yards, 3.6, and Tracy 6 times for 23, a 3.8, under the 4.0 or higher threshold that you would like to see from running backs when they're getting the ball. Saquon Barkley carried the ball 17 times for 176 yards and a touchdown, including a 55-yard long. The Kenneth Gainwell also carried the ball 13 times for 56 yards. You had the Eagles run the football 45 times, 269 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Kenny Pickett even got in this game. They only attempted 15 total passes, one of them by Pickett. That Jalen Hurts only had to complete 10 of 14 passes, 1 for a touchdown in this game. They ran for 245 times for 269 yards.
I just enjoy the way you said Kenny Pickett got into this game. Even Kenny Pickett got into this game.
Yeah, isn't that something, man? It's exactly where you look at the Giants' first half possession chart before we go on, and I'll talk about receivers, just a couple names, and we'll close this out, my dude. Punt, 4 plays, 20 yards, punt. 4 plays, 6 yards, punt. 3 plays, -4 yards, punt. 6 plays, 16 yards, punt. 3 for -3, punt. 3 for -3, punt. 10 plays, 44 yards, and a field goal before halftime. That's six drives of 4 plays or fewer punting the ball. And then it didn't get any better. 3 plays, punt. 8 plays, punt. 3 plays, punt. 5 plays, punt. 3 plays, punt. And then the end of the game with 1 play for 2 yards to finish out with 19 seconds. Wow. That is bad, and it's why you come into this just hopefully, the Giants, sometimes you play a game like that, you're embarrassed. You come to the Steelers, then have the bullseye on their back. The Steelers play the game that they just had, and they're overly confident, and the two things don't mix, and you get the result that you're not looking for, and you end up being disappointed. But again, I think that all of the other surrounding things, like the color rush deal, the Monday Night Football, I think Tomlin will have these guys ready to go and focused for this game before the bye week.
Steelers 752 to nothing.
Sounds right to me. Why not shoot for the stars? Do you want to shoot the moon ball there? There's the moon ball.
Yeah, there's the moon ball right there.
There's the moon ball.
Look, as I said before, they can't overlook this team. We all know the tripe that they play down to bad teams. They don't play down to bad teams, but sometimes they can not play at their best, whether they're taking that team for granted or not. As individual players, I don't know. But what I can tell you is I don't think that they're going to have that kind of mentality this year. There's a different feel to the way this team is playing. The games that they used to, when they would lose to bad teams, it looked bad. Remember the Patriots game, right? Remember that stream of games last year where they were losing to 2-win teams. And you just looked at it. You didn't feel like they were coming back to have a chance. They lost the 2 games that they did lose. They barely lost, right? And the Colts and the Cowboys, I don't think either one of them is really a good team, but they're not horrible. They're probably both better than the Giants, and this should be a game that is it should be an easy W, but we'll see.
I'm 100% with you on that one. Just hope it could be the slam dunk. Now I want to ask, we're going to go into a little bit of a different territory here, and just the fact that I've seen so many stupid things that it makes my head spin sometimes. But somebody is saying, I think it came out of Jerry Dulac's chat maybe, and it was George Pickens isn't a wide receiver one. Well, you're not going to find a wide receiver one just out on the streets these days. I don't think they're going to trade for a wide receiver one. Even bringing in a Cooper Kupp, is he a wide receiver one or still a wide receiver one north of 30 years of age? The reason I like Kupp as a target is because he's a different kind of wide receiver that the Steelers don't already have. And the money that he has on his contract, I kind of ran some quick math on it. And we could even pull up the graphic. Well, this is maths with Brian. We'll do maths with both of us. And it's about $20 million per year. He's still under contract through 2026, but dude is already 30, 31 years of age, where your wide receivers start to kind of slow down. But I think he's a different kind of receiver. This isn't the guy that's...
Well, he doesn't have the miles because he gets hurt.
And he can get hurt very easily if there's a strong breeze. So that doesn't help either. And that is of concern. No. But he's a route runner. He's not a speed guy. And it's something where you might be able to get a little more longevity. And $20 million a year for a wide receiver isn't a whole lot these days. And with the lack of major funds that are tied up on the Steelers offense, this would allow them to be able to sign a quarterback or any other players, maybe if they decide to bring Najee back or something like that, right? Another guy that comes up in a lot of these conversations, and did especially last week, was Mike Williams of the New York Jets. And the reason why most people believe that the Rams would do this because they weren't winning. They have, like I said, DeMarcus Robinson, Tutu Atwell. They have Puka Nacua. They have other guys that could play, and maybe they try and get some draft capital to build the team in the future. The Jets, with Mike Williams, he's a guy that already visited the Steelers in the offseason. He decided to go where Aaron Rodgers is, but Aaron Rodgers has his favorite shiny toy, another one of his broskies over there, Devontae Adams. Alan Lazard's already there. Garrett Wilson's already there. It's a crowded room where Mike Williams, there's not enough to go around to feed all these.
There's definitely not enough to go around.
To feed all these mouths. So Mike Williams, though, isn't under any kind of contract beyond this. He would be so bargain basement, but it's another guy that's like, now 30 or north of 30. And what have you done for me lately? He's not a guy that stays healthy. He won't be under contract beyond this year. If they give him like a conditional 7th is all the more I could see giving for like a Mike Williams. I would not give a 2 or a 3 for a Cooper Kupp either. You might pry a 3 out of me, but it's going to be a low 3 if the Steelers continue on this pace that they're on and finish with a 10, 11, 12 wins. Okay, maybe. 4th or 5th, probably more where I'd put that, especially with some of the money that's Odom. I know the Rams were looking for a little more. They're going off of legacy. The guy with an injury history like that, you're not giving a 1, a 2. I don't even know that I want to give a 3. Not even that.
No, you don't. I don't know. I want to go back and live in the fantasy world where we were living in earlier in the year where they trade for DK. But...
he's the next guy up after I mentioned Cortland Sutton. So Cortland Sutton in a very similar situation. They did have Tim Patrick, but they got Valet. They got Troy Franklin. Josh Reynolds is another guy that's coming back around. I know several of these guys have been banged up, and they have a very crowded receiver room. They reworked his contract and have void years in it. So next year's base salary is $13.5, but he has $500,000 per game roster bonus. So his cap number probably ends up being about $20 million too. So you get what I'm looking at is guys, even if they're, he's 29. And I'm looking at guys that are going to play beyond this year if you're going to give up any draft picks for them, and how much they're going to impact the salary cap, and whether or not then you could afford to pay other players, re-sign other players. When Ayuk didn't come, they had a ton of money earmarked for that guy, and now he's on injured reserve after not really impacting too much with the San Francisco 49ers, who he chose to re-sign with. Now that money went to Cam Hayward to extend him and keep him a Steeler for life. It went to Pat Freiermuth. Those are the type of decisions that you have to make. We know that money was earmarked because then those deals happened right away, right?
Yeah.
It's not just coincidence. But Cortland Sutton, I think, is a guy that they could afford. He's still under contract through 2025. He'd be 30 years of age. And he's 6'4", 216. He's very George Pickens-like in his size and play. So he offers them somebody else that just takes the attention away from George to allow George to maybe be a one. And he's somebody who has familiarity with Russell Wilson already. He can maybe jump right in. So that's the reason why Sutton is a hinted at name. The Broncos aren't doing terrible right now, so I don't know.
They're not.
I don't know that he's even available, which would be the same case with DK Metcalf, who, if available, he's the youngest. 26, 27 years of age. He's under contract for another year beyond this. He has a larger number, but his signing bonus is in that, so his base salary is about $18 million next year. They've already reworked a lot of this guarantees to where the Steelers are probably paying him about $500,000 or $600,000 to play the final 8 or 9 games of the season if he were to come along. But it's not like the Seahawks are doing bad. But you got Jackson Smith and Jigba, you got Tyler Lockett. They got some other guys there and guys that they've drafted that can get them beyond. It's not hurting these teams to give the player away. It's either got to be a team in a bad situation that they're done. The Browns, Amari Cooper, goodbye. Immediately they're toast. You know what I mean? The Seahawks, Broncos, even the Rams at this point, they're probably still thinking they could compete. I don't know that there's a whole lot out there. It'd have to be somebody that would completely surprise me or somebody completely under the radar. And it's got to be somebody that moves the needle more than a Van Jefferson or Calvin Austin.
Yeah.
It doesn't break the bank. Maybe if they give up trade capital, they at least have another year next year where they could decide. Devontae Adams was not that guy, even though he had years on his contract. That money is insane. He was already 31. You have him this year and you're cutting bait because you can't afford to take those large cap hits.
Yeah, and even who got the Chiefs got, is that Devontae Adams? No,
DeAndre Hopkins.
DeAndre Hopkins, right? Yeah, the Chiefs got DeAndre Hopkins. Same deal. It's like they're just trying to bump their offense up this year because it hasn't been as productive as it has been in the past, right?
Well, let me interject just real quick. I'm sorry, but it's a little different case or scenario too because they probably won't keep Hopkins beyond this year because they'll get Rashee Rice back. They have Xavier Worthy. They have other guys. They're just everybody's hurt right now.
Yep,
much different situation.
Absolutely.
Steelers are looking for that wide receiver too now and maybe a little bit beyond the horizon.
Possibly, yeah. Because you still want to see what Russ is going to be like and what's your decision going to be at the end of this year. Are you going to try and keep both Russ and Justin? Are you going to keep Brian just Russ? You're going to keep just Justin? You're going to keep neither one of them. They have to try and make those kinds of decisions. And the more they can put around either one of those guys, the better off they're going to be in trying to figure out what to do. But I agree with you. I just don't think that the teams that people have been talking about, other than the Jets, right? This is why I think the Mike Williams thing has the most maybe potential, because the Jets are doing bad, right?
Yeah.
They're doing what, 2-5 now? 2-6?
And they don't need them.
Yeah. They've got plenty of other guys, and there's a real viable option there. If he was not so fragile, I'd be a little more excited about it.
Yeah, I'm absolutely there with you. I just wanted to cover that. It'll probably be something we might talk about more as the bye week comes. We'll catch up with all of yous next week. We'll have a little bit of a post-game show, and then I think we take a bye too for a little bit. We'll have some time to ourselves to recharge. You got Halloween right around the corner. I know you don't have little ones anymore, but I still have one that still goes out, and so we'll see. We'll see what if I end up dressing up or doing anything for it. But
dude, I just put a bucket of candy on the porch and that's it. I'm done.
Hey, there's one more combination that I wanted to put out there too. Talking about bad teams. Now they already have Xavier Legette that they drafted this year. The Carolina Panthers. I'm not interested in maybe bringing Deontay Johnson back. I don't mind Deontay Johnson, but he's been hurt half of this season. Adam Thielen in the same case. I just don't think that Adam Thielen is a viable option or moves the needle much any more than just riding it out with Calvin Austin or Van Jefferson. So it's got to be somebody that's worth making a move for.
Yeah, I agree. 100%.
Well, Brian, thanks for joining me, my friend.
Always a pleasure.
And folks, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Don't forget to follow us over at steelcityunderground.com, all of our social media outlets as well, Facebook, the X, Twitter, Instagram, all of those are down there. We're expecting big things from the Pittsburgh Steelers this week, so let's hope we get it. Here we go. Till next time, my name's Joe, and his name is Brian. We encourage everyone out there to be safe, be good, and we'll catch you later.
We would like to thank you for listening and remind our listeners to follow us on social media and our website, www.steelcityunderground.com.